All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody to a new edition of Marketing Phone Calls. I'm Jason Leister, and I'm here with Ricky Breslin. How's it going today, Ricky?
Very good, man.
Awesome. Today we are talking about what exactly an internet business looks like. One of the cool things about this industry, I think, is that you can get to your goal in a ton of different ways. And I also think that's one of the most confusing things. So, what exactly are you trying to build? What does your business look like? What does the model look like? What are smart models to consider? So Ricky and I are just going to kind of talk about some of the experiences we've had with different models, what we use, what we like, don't like, and hopefully give you some clarity in less than 30 minutes. So, Ricky, why don't you take it away?
Oh, excuse me. I'm coming off this thing. Yeah, 30 minutes. And as always, we don't like take notes or talk about what we're going to talk about before the call. We normally just the day before, like, hey, what do you want to talk about? So fitting all this in, man, will be a challenge today because this is kind of a broad subject. I would say as far as models go, it's so personal. It's almost like girlfriends. I mean, you have a lot of people who say, you know, there's two things. A lot of people talk about business models, in my opinion, and they talk about more um, lower level tactical stuff, such as, excuse me, upsells, downsells, cross sells, pricing, testing, headlines, landing pages. There's about 150 different things you can do, probably more, when it comes to that type of stuff. But when we're talking about a model, that's kind of like, where am I going to go fish for customers in a sense? How much are they going to cost me? What funnel am I going to put them through? How am I going to, you know, kind of like bill them and sell them more stuff? And like, that's kind of the model. So I want to make sure, Jason, we're going to be talking about more of the higher level stuff versus like the stuff I said before, right? Like the overview, the top end model, right?
Exactly. Like what the Lego blocks look like.
Well, I don't know about you, man. I've seen a ton of like weird models that you would even look at and it would kind of make you almost want to throw up because you're like, huh, that works. Like even to this day, does that happen to you, man? Like I'll be looking at a business or consulting with somebody and they'll be like, yeah, we make, well, let's just say a number. We make 30 grand a month. And I'll look at their website and I'll be like, oh my goodness, dude. Like, really? You make the, even I'm blown away to this day. Like I'm never not surprised sometimes because has that ever happened to you where you're just like, really? So like, I've seen it so many times that I don't discount any model, any landing page. I don't make fun of no one. I don't talk good about no. I'm just like your little vision of what you think is a model or what people should be doing online can generally be shattered very quickly because there's so much crap working and there's a lot of crap not working, much more not. But what would you say about that, dude?
Yeah, I think to go in with no preconceptions is probably a smart idea. I mean, you have to start somewhere, and if you're clueless at the beginning, then take somebody's advice, right? But
Mm-hmm.
uh, you never know what's going to work. You don't know what's not going to work. So if you get married to ideas and use that to blind you to reality, then I think you can go on some pretty long wild goose chases. So yeah,
Yeah, I think excuse me, ethical swiping is a pretty good model up front if you're pretty clueless. Um,
so
and
pick one of your businesses and how is it structured?
I have, I would say multiple. I mean, we have about, I think, 8 websites now that actually make money. Some better than others, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, I'll kind of tell you my favorite model. I mean, instead of explaining it, and this is kind of a model I try to replicate because I think it's the most stable model. And here's my thought process kind of going into any business when I'm thinking, like if I'm consulting with somebody, or if I'm building my own, my end goal, and this may just be me, but this is my thoughts. I like to have like $10 to $20 products, a lot of front end stuff. Can't really have enough because there's so many different people with different issues and needs, etc. But I like to have like the $10 to $20 stuff. Then I like to have like the $100 to $400 stuff for the mid grade. And then I like to have the $1,000 up, whether that's a seminar, in person, consulting, a service, anything, whatever you got to come up with. So that kind of satisfies the 3 tiers, the low, mid, and the high. And then what I'm always looking for, sorry for all the cough, and it's got to be annoying to anybody listening. But It's unbelievable. But what I like to do is layer recurring over that. And I like recurring for a few reasons, not to, I like to have money before the month begins, but I always like recurring to cover fixed expenses. I think it delivers just a lot of ease to the client or to the website owner. So whether that's right now we're experimenting a lot with like more of a Netflix model, more volume with around $10 a month, because we want to build our fence more around the herd. And I don't even like that word, to be honest with you, but our, tribe, herd, your people. I like that because it's easier to speak to them, and then you can kind of move them into the fence where you can develop a better relationship. So that's what I like. I like the low, the mid, the high, and then I like the recurring is kind of like a overall, like, it solidifies the process. And then from there, you can just grow. But in my opinion, I love that model because we've got 4 legs on the table. You can kick a leg out and still survive and thrive. And then you can, if it's one of the legs screws up or it's not profitable, you can easily replace the leg. But I've just seen, and I know you have, Jason, I've seen so many businesses it just completely go bankrupt or go down or have to and that's okay. But I've just seen so many businesses doing one thing, and I'm big onto like, hey, let's figure out what our people need. Let's create this stuff and develop it. It can take a year or two, but let's get all the legs of the table solid, and it gives a lot of stability to the biz.
Yeah, totally. And I think from me looking inside at what you guys do, you found your like few things that you're awesome at in terms of building out those legs and building more of them. And for people who don't know, Ricky and product development are like, it seemed to be a match made in heaven. So, and we're talking like high quality stuff. We're not talking about you can have your product done in 24 hours, kind of like BS stuff. And so I've seen you over the years figure out that this thing I'm awesome at, and I'm going to execute on it. And my model is such that it benefits because of what I'm really good at.
Yeah, but let's not also kid ourselves. I also spent a lot of years feeling somewhat guilty about the fact that I'm not good or not doing, excuse me, some of the other things. But I had to come to the conclusion myself, and I'm sure other people listen to this, you'll have to come to that yourself also. And that's, realizing that, I can't really be great at everything. And if we need to fill the gaps, whether it's a pay-per-click manager, someone to build links, someone to do SEO, most anybody can be trained. And what I would recommend for people, if you're kind of struggling with that, is to find the best training available, no matter who it is and what field, and just have somebody go through it and implement it. It's their 70%. Like if you did it and you're like, I know I could be 100% at this, unbelievably awesome, and I'm going to be good at it, I would take somebody 70% consistently over your 100% doing, B and C grade work. I think you got to give that up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a real process, and I think the longer I go, the more I realize that the only way to succeed long term is to be really awesome at executing on the fundamentals, which are boring and you sweat and like it's just the work.
Yeah.
But the longer I go, the more I realize. Just like you always hear from like basketball great coaches, fundamentals. So okay, so think about one of your businesses. How do you get leads? How do you convert those leads? How do you develop that relationship over time?
Well, there's multiple ways we get leads, and most of them fail and are miserable failures. We're the only dude that'll talk about that, but everybody I know is a complete miserable failure at lead generation, like 90% of the time, because you just don't know where to put your pole into. The easiest thing to do to test something out, in my opinion, is to find the most popular forums, which takes 10 minutes on Google to do that. And just contact the owners and do a banner ad for, on a CPM basis or whatever you've got to do. And, they cost you $100, $200. And those are where the most fish are going to be, for the pond that, you need. So if you can't convert from where the hottest people are, that's directly related to what you're selling, I kind of normally take that as a clue. And then you can get in and out for under $1,000. You can be on a few forums. You can run some banner ads. You can throw a few thousand uniques at your product. And then to me, if it breaks even, like that's killer, it's successful.
Yeah.
And then if I do that, then I would invest time on YouTube, um, organic traffic, etc. I was I paused there for a minute because I was about to say Twitter and Facebook, but then I realized that I pretty much hate Twitter and Facebook. So I was like, Twitter, because it kind of naturally comes out, but like, I don't. I know you've had a lot of experience with that, and I can't stand. I mean, Facebook in general. We should have a whole conversation about Facebook and how annoying Facebook is, and how much of a time suck. I mean, our next call has to be about Facebook and Twitter, man.
Yeah, I'm a few months free of that, and my life has improved significantly, and I haven't found much business value there, but
But yeah, that's what we do. So we go fishing, put our little fishing hats on, and we get our little boat, and we go get some bait, and you just go out there and you fish. Unfortunately, nobody talks about this, and you know that, Jason. Nobody talks about it because everybody fails 90% of the time. You don't really know. You're completely clueless. You're just doing your best. So the only thing you hear are success stories, et cetera, because people are trying to sell how to get rich stuff. But the people actually making real money, they never say anything. So you really never have any real test data out there unless you put your pole in the water. And then when you do that and you're successful and you're like, wow, I'm paying $2 for these leads, man. I'm making $34 back. Well, what do? You don't go write an ebook about it. You go buy 8 more boats.
Right.
You go back to the lake. So, and then you don't, and then that's just kind of how the game works. But unless you're doing private coaching where people can pay and get intimate information, which, we both do, but you do got to pay for that information. That stuff just like isn't out there on a blog.
Yeah, sure.
So that's kind of let me layer on that. So that's kind of the lead gen part.
Mm-hmm.
Come in. What I try to focus on, honestly, is offers that convert. And I'm very mindful at keeping stuff above the fold, stuff meaning, add to cart buttons, pertinent information, videos. We're currently redoing all of our trailers on our websites because a lot of our stuff was filmed in 2008 and 2009, and they worked for a long time. And what we're finding is a lot of them are becoming less effective in 2012 and 13. I mean, I still have Flash from 07, 08 online, like probably about 10% of my stuff. Wow. So we're getting converted over to H.264 for the tablets and everything, and then we're approaching a lot of the way we pitch our products a little differently. So I'm 10 years in the game right now, and I'm still tweaking. And guess what? When I'm 13 and 17 years in the game, I'll retweak. That's just kind of the game we play. So I focus a lot on that, on the flow and Google Analytics and what's working and what's not working and creating new offers. And my mind is always buzzing about that stuff. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've tried a lot of stuff, and one thing I'm doing most recently is more like what's become to be known as the Agora model, which is like the daily content leading to everything.
The way I plan on stealing your model very soon. For one of my businesses.
I mean, you and a lot of people, and I'm happy that I stole it as well. And for the right places, it seems to work very well. And so, I don't copy Agora quite totally because I don't do like a really low cost. Like they'll do the daily content newsletter, then the $49 annual newsletter, and I go way up much sooner because I want to. But we're still dealing with the heavy lifting is being done by daily content. And every one of those is a sales opportunity, and my style of selling is not manipulative or coercive. Like I don't force anybody to do anything just because that's the way I want to approach it. And so because of that, I have to have a model that gives me tons of chances to sell that aren't annoying. So that's why I do daily content. Mm-hmm. And I also need to have that front portion of things be extremely leveraged. So like, I don't want to work any harder to talk to one person or a million, right? And then I just do my thing. I be valuable, and I let them, and then I open doors. And one day this door might open and somebody can walk through. And tomorrow I'm going to open the other door, and maybe it's time for the other guy to walk through that one. And so, and then when they're a customer, then like you said, Ricky, there's that recurring level, and I do it in the form of a print newsletter that I've just only a
Mhm.
couple months ago started. So that's just getting launched. So, I'm working my way from front to back. And I do that, number one, because I'm one person with a lot of things going on, so I can't like build this big empire overnight. And two, you learn a lot by simply being one step ahead of everybody. You go out there, you see where your people are at, you see what they need, you see what problems they really deal with, and
Yeah,
you
and
can go take action on that. And then you rinse and repeat, and over time, you
exactly.
solve a lot of problems in a lot of different ways. And before you know it, you have a big suite of products and services, and that's cool.
Yep. And I think where most people mess up is number one, they're scared to contact their people a lot. And me and my wife, our businesses, most people, all you have to do is Google, us, and you'd see our main website with the stuff. But we need to do a better job on that. And you definitely inspire me to do that. Ben Settle's another guy who inspires me to, email more often. But it actually is time consuming. It's not as easy as just popping something off. That's a real system. You actually have to give it thought. You've got to write something decent. You have to have engaging content. Not that it takes a long time, but you do need to be able to schedule consistently a half an hour a day or so to get it written, to upload it, to do that. And that's something we're going to be restructuring and doing this year, because I really think it's important. I think you said something that's so important, and that is, you said, I give them a chance to buy. And I think what most people do is they have add to cart buttons, they have some products, but there is just not enough chances. And by chance, I mean, you never know how somebody is going to connect with a headline that day, how they're feeling, whether they hate their job that day, whether they want to make a career change, wanting to improve, wanting to yada, 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 yada. There's a million things. And if you shoot one arrow once a week, take it from me, you lose money. I mean, if you would have emailed them 5 days a week and risked somebody getting pissed off and risked the unsubscribes, which both of those absolutely don't matter, you are guaranteed to make more money. Can you talk about, obviously not specifics on the money you've made, but can you give us some percentages or something on an increase since you've started really focusing on daily content? Because I think you may inspire people to not be afraid to connect on a daily basis with their list.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm marketing something, I like it never to be. I like to do everything out in the open. I don't like to be sneaky about anything, and so that's why I have a daily newsletter, because everyone who signs up knows they're going to get something every day from me.
Oh, so you're talking. Let me take that back. So what you're saying is when they opt in on the front end, when they first hit your website, the mere fact that you say daily newsletter, not sign up for 10 ways to lose fat in 2 seconds, but you don't mention daily newsletter. Are you telling me that you kind of like, you prep them always, like it's the daily newsletter so they can unsubscribe? Or
I do it. Yeah, I do it both ways. I mean, I have lead magnets where they don't know they're about to get subscribed to a daily newsletter, and then once they enter their information, I tell them they are also getting this, and surely they can quit at any time. But my point is, I can't think of a better way to get 20 product offers in front of an audience on a monthly basis and have them enjoy it. You couldn't do that with an autoresponder that shot out emails every day. So the daily content model builds a structure around things that you can be valuable to people in a way that they like to read what you write, and you get the ability to help them by selling them the things that you have that solve problems
but what if you
over and over again.
have a stay-at-home mom in Florida and she kind of doesn't know what she's doing, and she wrote one book, then she wrote another one, so she has 2 products, and teaching you how to be a stay-at-home mom and stay fit. How would daily content, what would you recommend her as far as daily? I mean, she has 2 products. What would you do?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is it depends, right? I don't know. I think you can have, certainly I don't think the daily content model is right for everyone. And I think there is a hybrid where the daily content model isn't right if all you focus on in that daily content is what you do. So let's say you're like a psychologist, right? you wouldn't have a daily content model where you're writing to potential prospects about psychology every day. Nobody wants to hear about that. But you would think to yourself, well, what is my audience, what are they really after? Well, they want a good life. They want to feel good. They want to be happy. So you could write about that every day.
So how does she brainstorm that? How does she get to a point instead of, because most people think that way. They say, I have two products, how to lose 10 pounds in 10 days and how to be a stay-at-home mom and lose weight. Those are my two products. I spent a year writing them. I'm so excited. I have a website up and I have that. Obviously, let's be honest, most people don't make any sales because they don't know what to do after that.
Yeah.
But if Jason was her, I think this is very valuable and instructive.
Yeah, I would. Well, I mean, it always comes down to what problem you solve.
Okay, so go from A to Z in a quick manner.
So if I were her and I happened to like come up with two products that, what was it, lose weight, and what was the other one?
Lose 10 pounds in 10 days and how to be a stay-at-home mom and still stay fit. So take us through the process of how you would come up with subjects and connect in a way that doesn't look like you're pitching your product every 2 seconds. Like, how would you develop a bunch of content and blasts 5 days a week for that person? I think a lot of people will learn something here.
Yeah, so I'm a stay-at-home mom. I know that I have these two products that solve a specific issue. What I haven't done yet is necessarily focused on exactly who it solves that issue for, right? 10 pounds in 10 days can be directed at a lot of people. So I'm not like an absentee business owner kind of entrepreneur. Like, I'm in it because I just like it. So that's how I view business, right? So if I'm her, I say, okay, well, I know what it's like to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I mean, I'm looking for points of empathy, connections with a broader audience that you can reach out to. And certainly stay-at-home moms like is at the top of my list in that kind of a situation. So what stay-at-home mom doesn't want to be understood on a daily basis by another stay-at-home mom? Mm-hmm. What stay-at-home mom doesn't want tips about what to do when they're about to jump off the ledge from the 3rd floor of their house because their kids are just driving them nuts today?
So you may come in with a personal story about how to handle stress with her 3-year-old or something that happened personally the day before, and that would possibly tie into your product towards the end in a slight pitch.
I would go through a very simple process of, when I sat down to write tomorrow's email, I say, what is the core essence of the problem I'd like to help them with? What story from my personal experience can I wrap around that so it's interesting?
There we go. That's what you just said, the gold right there.
And then what product acts as a natural solution for people who want to take action? And that's the recipe.
Which, by the way, a byproduct of the last thing you just said is you can come up with more products much easier.
Of course, because you're going to be getting feedback from all of these people who know, like, and trust you and feel like they know you because, I mean, you've opened up to them in a way that a lot of people won't. Mm-hmm. And so that's extremely valuable both ways.
Yep. Then we take care of the know, like, trust factor. We take care of the family friend factor. You really can build real relationships with people doing it this way. That's what I love about your daily letter. And I love the way you do things, man, because it's just so real. And that's what I love about blasts versus autoresponders. Before we end this call, can you give us your opinion? Because this all comes down to model at the end of the day. Yeah. Can you give us your opinion on, because you don't do autoresponders for the most part. Can you tell us why and your opinion on that?
I do some, but like I said, I always strive to be very authentic and very transparent as much as possible, and as much as that makes sense without being stupid, right? I'm ultimately trying to help these people, and a byproduct of that is I get a successful business. So autoresponders, I would use, I think a perfect place to use them is in conjunction with a lead generating info something. So if I promised these stay-at-home moms that I was going to give them, a 12-day course about how to solve this problem, that's a perfect autoresponder thing. Nobody would freak out if they found out that you're sending these messages automatically.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And I think that's where you can build in a lot of leverage to what you're doing. You could have autoresponders to lead to various portions of your business. Mm-hmm. And there are 20 messages focused on solving X problem. And so people opt in, and then they get sales messages based on that, but they also get what they asked for, which was that autoresponder series that gives them solutions. So that's how I see them.
I think we both agree that you should never you lose all authenticity and realness and the punch factor when you try to substitute an autoresponder for like a real life situation that happened yesterday, because you're not able to type about it as emotionally. I mean, you just lose that it factor when you try to make stuff evergreen that like should be real. I mean, you lose a lot of power, in my opinion.
I mean, autoresponders, I think, are sold from the wrong perspective. I think the worst thing you should ask yourself is, how can I make this easier for me? Like, that should not be the first question. You know, if that's the first question, then I don't know if long-term business is where you should be. Money making, that's fine, but at least be upfront about it. You know,
a little different, way different than what you or I would be doing, which is I would definitely consider what we do lifestyle businesses versus corporate structure, plans to use a lot of employees and that's just not our flow. So what we're talking about is great for lifestyle, relationship, the type of businesses we run.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can use a lot of leverage with technology, but I think it has to be used in certain ways and ways that don't damage what you're trying to build, which is a trust level that, I mean, people talk about USP. The best USP in the world is when you don't need one, because their trust level in you is so high that there's no need for one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what I work to build in advance.
Yeah, all in advance, preferably.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that model works really well. It is what I do well, right? So if you hate to write, then you have to make some adjustments. I don't think you should try to stick a square peg in a round hole just because it works for Jason.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but if you don't write or do video well, online business is a lot more difficult because that's online business. I mean, as far as the content piece, now you could write a sales letter and just drive traffic straight to it and get really good at that. But a lot of the organic, long tail, long-term, meaty type stuff without needing, that does require writing and video.
Yeah, and I think, and it requires that because you have to be able to communicate with impact, however that looks, whatever. But that's the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. Are we on our 30? I think we hit our 30 minutes.
50 seconds, man.
Good, dude. That's cool. Okay, cool. Well, I think, let me just wrap up this about models real quick. I would study models. I would study different pricing strategies. I would study different, flows of business. And Jason, I want you to speak when I'm done. But like most of our calls, it's funny. There really is no right way. There's no wrong way. There is only one way, and that's your way. You on the other end of this, listening to this, it's your way. Choose what works best for your lifestyle, the goals you want to achieve, and the impact you want to have, and all that good stuff. And then align the model to match it. I'm huge on that. I'm just huge on it because I want it to match my lifestyle. If you don't have that picked out and formed in your head and written down, and I really do mean that, we give a lot of thought on the front end. We write down our goals and what we want to achieve. Then we model, because how do you know how much content to create? How many products do you need to have? What do you need? Well, I don't know, because I don't know what you want to do, achieve, become. I don't know any of that. Yeah. So I'll let you kind of piggyback on that, Jason. But I think a lot of the big takeaway here is first figure out what in the heck you're going to do, what you want to be, what you want your business to look like. And the model will mold to meet that. And I'm not trying to tell you to aim low. I'm just, the model really will dictate a lot on, whether you have 50 employees or if you want to have 3 in a great lifestyle. And I'm not saying you can't have it with 50. I'm just if that's what you want to do. So it really comes down to what you want to do. You want to piggyback on that, Jason?
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget why you do this. I want a good life, and I realize that the best way to get that good life is to help a lot of people in a very specific way.
Leveraged.
And so that's a certain, and everything else is something you discover over time. Yeah, the daily content model is great for getting leads, but I can't convert. What do I do about that? And so you bump into the wall and you figure out a way around it. And then things grow organically, and they grow based on real data instead of being grown by you following what worked for somebody else, which really we fool ourselves into thinking there's any reason it should work for us.
Yeah, and I've never met anybody personally that stole an exact model, which is really nothing wrong with that. I mean, you looked at somebody's model and you kind of mimicked it and did your own thing.
Yeah.
Totally legit. But Jason, you can answer this also when I'm done, but I've never met anybody who swiped an entire model and tried to completely copy somebody because they were inspired, and it lasted more than like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of an example. And I mean, we're dealing with human beings.
Yeah, I mean, it's so personal, man.
Yeah, so anyway.
All right.
Cool.
We appreciate it, everyone. This is what is this? Call number 5?
I think so.
What are we going to title this one?
I don't know. That's my job. I have to listen to it again.
I think I'll do that every call. But again, thanks everyone, and that's the end. Bye.
All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.